Okay, on this episode, I'm going to be limiting myself to an hour because I got to get some sleep. I have a trip coming up pretty soon, and I want to be rested at least two nights in advance. So this trip was planned out that I'm about to take. It was planned out in advance of my unplanned hiatus. Unlike last time, the show will go on. There is nothing preventing me from doing the show other than me not being where I record my show. So, in my place next week will be Toilet Law. Toilet Law, you might know him from the rightstuff.biz. He will be guest hosting. So, I have set up a question thread on Reddit. It is the question thread for episode 60. It's on it's on the Common Filth subreddit, reddit.com/r/Common Filth. So go leave Toilet Law a question or a comment. Feel free to give your thanks, which is what I will do now. I very much appreciate him being generous with his time and contributing to this, making it possible for it to go on. So just wanted to get that out of the way. A big thank you to him. And on Bandcamp, people have been asking me what's been going on with the Tumblristas Raw Volume 3 production. And it's suspended for the time being. I don't know when I'm going to be able to finish it. But in the meantime, everything on the on my Bandcamp page, commonfilthradio.bandcamp.com, will be half off. So that includes Common Filth Radio, the best of 2014, Tumbleristas Raw Volume 1 and Volume 2. So that adds up to... actually, let me look that up real quick to make sure. Because I believe that, yeah, $3.50 gets you all three of them, and Tumblr's episode 17 is also on Bandcamp because it's not on YouTube. So yeah, if you haven't got caught up with Tumblr's Raw Volume 1 and Volume 2, you'll have time to do it, but now is the time to do it. Everything on the Bandcamp page is 50% off, so a great deal. And this week I have no news stories to cover, nothing that really grabbing my attention, so I'm just going to finish up the emails that I have, just so that I can get them out of the way. I've had these building up for some time now. And actually that's not true, I just don't want to give this person attention. Tommy Sotomayor, you can check out his TNN News, TNN Raw channels. I think those are what those are called. And, yeah, another transsexual threw himself in front of a large vehicle to commit suicide. And that's why I'm not going to talk about it, because I'm not going to give it attention. So, but just to put it into context, remember at the beginning of the year I did the episode about, or maybe it was at the end of last year, I don't know, but the episode about, I think it was called Truck Your Privilege. And it was about a same sort of suicide. How narcissistic could you be that oh, I'm going to do a copycat suicide. I'm going to make it all about me and about this person who did nothing with their life. It's like I guess if you kill yourself by a vehicular suicide, yeah, if you commit vehicular suicide, you get elevated to sainthood in neoliberal hell world. Just think about it. What if I was like, oh, I want to die by being crucified? You'd think I was a fucking nut. And I'd probably go to hell for doing it, and deservedly so. So here's an email. My name is not important. I have been a fan of yours since the beginning of my college experience a year ago. My entire life, my goal was to attend a Catholic college, and I made it in the best one in my area. I spent countless hours on schoolwork, charity work, and extracurricular activities, and I was given half off my tuition. When I started to attend classes, I noticed that I was an extreme minority, white male. At least 80% of the classes were African American, foreigners, or golden retriever girls. I asked around, and most classes were like this regardless of major. My English for 2 semesters were spent on basic rules of the language and basic sentence structure that should have been taught in kindergarten. The worst thing that the college was only 5% Catholic, and I was taught theology by an atheist. I had to go to a consent course. Only white males attend for an entire semester, saying no means no, maybe means no, and yes means no. And if you did not attend or pass the course, you could not receive your diploma. White males were not allowed to form clubs, and Christians could not form prayer meetings, but the Muslims were allowed to form a Muslim student council, homosexuals could form a gay-straight alliance, and blacks formed an NAACP chapter, all paid for by student funding. The admin said we could join any of these clubs. Myself and others brought up the fact that this was discriminatory. The administration stated if we did not drop the conversation, we would be kicked out or labeled troubled, racist students. I told one of the administrators that they could not keep bringing low-grade people onto the campus and expect everything to be fine. After a while, my prophecy came to pass. Check the link. Here in my area, if the race of the victim and perpetrator are not given, it usually means a black-on-white crime happened. I dropped out in May of this year and started attending a community college part-time and also started to learn welding. God bless you, Common. Well, that sounds like hell. And I do apologize if I read that before. I don't remember if I did, but actually I haven't. That email came after the day after I uploaded episode, 57? So, yeah, that doesn't surprise me much. The reason why academia can't be taken back by conservatives or at least apolitical people is because look at the breeding strategy of liberals. They have a very spray and pray breeding strategy. They don't invest resources into any one given offspring. They prefer to breed like, well, here are all my babies. There you go. And the classroom is like that, except their babies are, they're a virus and they're looking to infect new hosts. And there's no more efficient way to infect a culture than through the classroom. Because you get dozens of students at a time and you develop some personal connection with them. These students think, oh, you're on my side. Oh, wow, you're so cool. And it's all downhill from there. So this whole idea of, we need to take back academia, no. It's not possible. It is not possible. You cannot separate what is said from how it is said. It's just, it's like, sociology could, if, the social sciences can show some data that would lend itself to supporting socially conservative ideas. Well, you think anybody's going to let that happen? Fuck no. So, good luck learning how to weld and attending community college. It's a much better thing than what you were doing before. What are your opinions on Bernie Sanders? Moron. Free college, free everything. Yeah, free college for brave women of color to learn how to steal old Jewish guy microphones. That's all he wants. So fuck Bernie Sanders. And this one is called, You Don't Know Shit About Sweden. I've listened to every single one of your radio shows in rapid succession, and you generally write about every single thing. But there is one topic that you brought up a few times that really tickles my pickle in a bad way. Sweden. You seem as though you have a very negative view of Sweden and the Scandinavian region, which is completely understandable since you obviously browse poll, but what you have to understand is that the majority of the Sweden propaganda that gets posted there is epic memes. Easily refutable epic memes at that. If you see a news article, it doesn't take a lot of research to find out it's more often than not a complete fabrication. Of course, there is real cuckoldry stuff that happens in Sweden as well, but no more than the Anglosphere. Well, no argument there. Sweden has for a long time now been unfairly targeted by meme conspirators. Yeah, we're all we all get together in a dark room and we conspire. We conspire to make Scandinavia look bad. Anyway, who ensure that every little thing that happens there may be remotely leftist in nature gets highlighted and blown out of proportion when it really is no worse than the rest of the West. In fact, I'd say that Scandinavia is better off in terms of degeneration than most of the other white countries. At least we're still all above 95% white. That's more than I can say for France, Italy, Britain, Spain, Netherlands, Germany, and let's not forget America. What is your percentage at now? 72? That's fucking laughable. It's actually lower than that. I think it's at 65% or something. But, look, I understand that you want to defend your country. It's normal to have nationalistic impulses if you have deep roots in a region. Scandinavia, specifically Sweden, is your home. and you feel a need to defend your home. Now, I'm not some belligerent. I don't hate the Swedish people. In fact, I have a lot of Swedish listeners. And yeah, I think you're the first to email me and tell me that I'm wrong. But you got to understand something. America's not a nation; it's a business, which is why every European who has some sort of dumb, uninformed opinion about America says that America's some right-wing crazy place. Simply because the justification they give is because in America you're not taxed as much as you are in Europe. That's it. Oh wow, people are allowed to make money. Wow. Yeah, that's a crazy right-wing aristocracy we have. And even if that were the case, look how they behave. And that's what I'm talking about on this show. Yeah, people make a lot of money, but look what they do with it. It's not like they are dignified or show restraint, which is what I would like to see, but I don't see that anywhere in American culture. But yeah, America is not a nation because nobody here has deep roots. You have much, much deeper roots where you live. Scandinavia is overwhelmingly anti-immigration at this point. A poll in Norway a few years back revealed that 97% had an unfavorable view of immigration, which is obvious. When you see a demographic change as swiftly as it has, even the blue-pilled masses are going to become wary, but due to retarded faggot legislatures spawned as a result of World War II, as well as EU regulations, there is nothing that can be done legally through a democratic process. That is not to say that we're not trying, evident by the fact that nearly half of Sweden are now voting for a party that was considered a fringe group of neo-Nazis 5 years ago. But even then, they, if elected, won't have any power to stop immigration. In other words, we need some kind of violent revolt, hostile takeover of the government and Gestapo-style persecutions of immigrants in order for something to actually change, which I personally believe are not that far off in the horizon. Well, what does that say about whites that they have allowed themselves to be pushed around by bureaucrats? Bureaucrats who are not intimidating in any way other than, oh, we could possibly fine you or put you in jail. Fuck that. Who are they? Who's going to defend them if you decided to go after them? I'm just saying. I'm not saying you should do that, but, well, whatever. I think I've said enough on that subject. But, and this ties in with, it's because I see it in America too, that a lot of people are just defeated. And my friend he just recently came back from somewhere in Europe, and he just said, yeah, the people there, they just seem like they're beaten down. They have a defeated spirit about them. And this is not a political person. This is not a person who looks at things in depth like we do, not somebody who lives and breathes this stuff. But he observed this. And somebody's got to snap out of it. We have to stop being pushed around by people who do it through bullshit hall monitor office politics kind of shit. It's pathetic. Who are these people? Making $50,000 a year behind some desk. Oh, they provide for their family though. They're working people. Well, you know what? If that's the working person, fuck the working person. If the working person wishes to have solidarity with some bureaucrat, fuck them. Work is not created equal. Anyway, another thing you seem to not understand about Sweden is how the military situation works. You've implied that their military is weak and puny and could easily be destroyed if Russia decided to invade, which is fair enough. On its own, the Swedish military couldn't do shit about anything. That is because Sweden is a tiny, low-population country of 8 million people. It's about the same as the state of Virginia. You think that Virginia would be able to take on Russia by itself? Of course not. That is why alliances exist. If you put the entire Scandinavian region together, you get 26 million, which is about comparable to Texas, and I think Texas would have a much better shot at beating Russia. In addition, per capita, the Scandinavians have a larger military representation than most of those precious Slav countries you seem to have a huge erection for. Plus, we're not poor as fuck, so we actually have proper MLG equipment. I'm not saying our military is comparable to America's. No military is. America is really fucking overkill, mate. Tone it down already, we get it. Well, look, no argument there, but, I mean, I don't worship Slav countries. All I'm saying is that it seems like if it came down to it, the common person there would stand up for themselves. And I don't see that in Europe at large. Not just Scandinavia, but Europe in general, for the reasons I stated before. It's like, if who you have to stand up to are these bureaucrats, fuck that. Go after them. Go after them. TLDR, stop talking shit about Sweden and its military. Americans calling anybody leftist cucks is like the pot calling the kettle black. If the pot is cast iron and the kettle is stainless steel. In case you didn't understand that proverb, cast iron is usually black while stainless steel is gray. And in this case, America is the cast iron pot, which is black, calling Sweden gray stainless steel black. Look, I've criticized American culture far more than I criticize Swedish culture because I don't have a ground level view of it. I can't look up close and say this is how it is, whereas in America, I can. So, I've mentioned America. I've covered stories that have happened in America at a far greater clip than I've mentioned Sweden. And look, maybe I am uninformed about certain things. I completely welcome any correction as long as the correction comes from a truthful place. Continuing. Also, I find it hilarious that you consider yourself white as an Italian and Irish mix. Italians are the niggers of Southern Europe, and the Irish are the niggers of the British Isles. Talk to me when you can trace your heritage 600 years back to a single Germanic nation, you mongrelized mutt, you. Well, I will correct you on this. I am not Italian. I am part Irish, but my great-grandmother is Irish, and she married and had children with a Spaniard who was blonde hair and had blue eyes. So I think that would make me 12.5% Irish because she was from Ireland, and 12.5% Spanish. And most of my heritage is German and Dutch. And there's some possible Polish in there, but I can't trace that yet. So I'd have to get a genealogy test done, which I have not done yet. So yeah, I'm predominantly German. And Dutch, and with a little bit of Irish and Spanish. So not Italian, even though I have nothing against Italians. Pretty sure I have Italian listeners, but I don't know how many. Next. Hey, CF, first of all, thanks for answering my question about my transgender parent a couple of weeks ago. I'm currently trying to become more independent money-wise so I can move out on my own while going to community college. My question today is, what do you think of corporations like Google / Alphabet and Facebook that have more resources to track you than the government? I'm talking about knowing where you are going to go before you know dystopian future stuff. If you haven't donned the tinfoil hat yet, I would recommend this video about how privacy is dead and anonymity is next. Thank you for taking time out of your day to answer this question, and good luck on your endeavors. Well, thank you. I'm not too worried about it on its own. I'm just worried about them working with the government. I'm worried about them working with the government because the government has no incentive to keep this data for themselves. They have incentive to use it against you because all government employment is make work. I would say that 9 out of 10 government jobs are just make work bullshit, keep you off the streets kind of stuff, and make people arrogant thinking they're independent when they're really not. They depend on the charity of the taxpayer. So Google and Facebook are contemptible companies, and I think they should be taxed out of existence. If I were to have it my way, they would. But as it stands, they're using the data just to make more money. Because Google, I think, is the biggest ad firm on the planet. And they use data in certain ways to, which is why I think that, like the whole marketing thing, that's why they're pushing race mixing more than they have been, because it's not so much like they're trying to emasculate one group of people, even though that's probably a byproduct. They're looking for people to have children that are going to have identity issues, and they probably have something in their metadata that says that mixed race people are more prone to to consumption. They probably have something that says mixed race people, they're more likely to click ads, therefore we're more likely to make money off of them. And I think that is I think that's predatory. I think that's evil, but oh well, whatever. And it's not just Google and Facebook that need to be taxed at 90%, which is ironic because I know I said the whole thing about Europe thinking America is right-wing because people are allowed to make money. Well, in that respect, we should become more like Europe, but we should become socially, we should take our culture in the opposite direction, which is to say that we should exercise restraint, we should exercise dignity, and not be obsessed with our own assholes. Okay, next. Oh shit, where did I go? Okay, here we go. If you go to 8pol regularly, I know you do, just not how often, would you say that it's a lost cause? The shills have stepped up their game exponentially, and over the past week, serious issues that should be addressed in sticky threads are completely derailed and ruined by shills, shitposters, and spammers, which at this point I wouldn't be surprised if they're all the same. I feel like the entire board is compromised, and I don't know where we could go as an alternative. Well, I like reading Britpol because they like what I do. They link to my stuff occasionally, so every time I've looked at a Britpol thread, they've seemed fine. But yeah, I haven't noticed that myself. And what you can do about it is try to become a moderator. And the moderators that exist need to not be so afraid of banning people. Because if the purity of discussion is what your goal is, you need to remove people who compromise that. And I think that a lot of people use this whole free speech thing, which I'm in favor of. I mean, I realize that there are costs to it. People need to realize that in order to have free speech, you need to remove the people that just yell fire in a crowded room. And that's what you're talking about. Shitposters are just people who yell fire in a crowded room, in a movie theater, whatever. So yeah, there needs to be some selective use of the iron fist. And that's all I'll say about that. A lot of the derailing shitposting I'm talking about had to do with Anita Sarkeesian and Zoe Quinn at the UN. And if that's not proof that the UN is a complete fucking joke, I don't know what is. We know now that the UN is now pushing for Chinese-style censorship of the internet, nominally to save women from cyber violence, but we all know it's just so they can put a gag on internet free speech, which is bad for Anita Sarkeesian's and Zoe Quinn's bottom line. Because if there are more people out there looking at what they do and criticizing it, the less money they make. They stand to lose more money if people are allowed to criticize people. If people are allowed to criticize those they oppose. And they don't like that. They know that cuts into their bottom line. They know that cuts into their way of life. And they want to preserve it. And they're technically working people, so fuck them. If anybody finds any solidarity with them because they're merchants, then fuck them. Also relevant was this article I just found. You don't have to read it, just check the headline. Xenophobic posts child rights. Oh yeah, I read about that, about some Euro country threatening to take away children if the parents of those children are caught posting anti-immigrant sentiments on the internet. It seems that mass censorship will be coming in the foreseeable future, whether we like it or not. If that happens, where can we turn to organize, discuss, and share thoughts freely? This won't be as simple as making a new board or website. Will we see a surge in deep web use? Is that even a feasible alternative? It could be. I don't know enough about the deep web to say, but if they force us to shut up, they're taking away an outlet. And pressure will find a way to escape. Where it will escape, how it will escape, I'm not at liberty to discuss. Because debating, talking, typing, there's some sort of release with that. Your brain tells you, yes, you're getting these thoughts and feelings out. And you're satisfying that. You're satisfying that impulse. And that's why you don't see that many people lashing out. And if they take that away, well, they get what they get. Sorry if these questions seem odd, but this has been something that has been weighing on my mind for the past couple of days now. And now that I can't even discuss it on poll without the threads being sunk as soon as I start, I don't know who else to ask. Thanks again and God bless. Well, this is why you need your own platform. This is why people need their own platforms, and not you specifically, but people of our mindset. There needs to be leaders. There needs to be individual voices that people can rally around, and that's a cost with anonymous image boards, that anybody can come in and shit it up, and there's no real consequence for that. Whereas, if there's fewer people making the decisions, it's more likely that the right decision will be made. So, thank you for the question. I just bought Tumblrista's Raw Volume 1 and 2 to support you. I love what you do and hope to see you do for a while. God bless. Well, thank you for the support. Every little bit helps. Okay, next. First of all, thanks for all you do and sorry for the long read. You really shine light in the darkness that is the modern West. I'm a sophomore in high school who has just started classes. For the most part, my classes haven't posed a problem. Until I started my English 2 class. Big fucking shock. Within this class, I was introduced to critical theory, which is clearly Marxist in origin, and comes with critical lenses. Critical lenses are effectively looking and answering questions based on a singular viewpoint. For the rest of the year, I'm to only answer questions based off these lenses, which include feminist lens, physiological lens, and Marxist lens. Further still, we discuss gender stereotypes, representation of women, and how evil men are. What really puts the icing on the cake was a speech done by my English teacher, a white woman in her mid-30s, about how we were going to pursue multicultural studies instead of those boring old white guys that we always read about. Now she has a sister with a multiracial child. This is all... It's hard being right. It's hard listening to the stuff I talk about and seeing it in real life. Because you want it to be an abstract thing, but then you realize that these people are made up of flesh and blood, and all of a sudden you feel like, oh God, I have to actually deal with this and not just hear some guy talk about it. It's tough, I know. Anyway, continuing. After a few days of listening to this leftist drivel, I decided to argue against some of her clearly unreasonable points. Following this, I was met with a swift backlash from my peers and the threat of detention. Later, I had questioned her about the origins of these lenses and was subsequently threatened with insubordination. Afterwards, I was pulled out of my last class by my English teacher to discuss my attitude towards her class. I told her in a straightforward manner all of my complaints while she listened. Yet she dismissed them as a fear of liberalism and told me she was a registered Republican who only wanted to encourage individual thinking. Further still, she told me outright that she didn't want me influencing the other students. I decided to swallow my pride in order to pass the class for the time being and go along with it. My question to you is, should I further risk insubordination or continue to swallow her ideas for the sake of passing? Also, how does one go about presenting their ideas in a way the indoctrinated find palatable? I've tried talking about Christ and quoting the Bible without results, since the reaction I usually get is, fuck that nigga, God isn't real, I believe in science, which is coming from kids in a large Hispanic community. Thanks again, and God bless those natural conservatives those Hispanics are. I'm not bashing on my Hispanic listeners, it's just it's a common refrain that you hear, common rationalization. But there's really nothing you can do, and I'm sorry to say that. You, as a sophomore in high school, don't hold much power. And I find it laughable that she's so, I want to encourage individual thinking. Well, she is not teaching you how to think, she's teaching you what to think. And that's bullshit. Oh, I'm a registered Republican. Bullshit. She's lying to you. She's just saying that to seem whatever. Or she's just so worthless that, she's submitting to a higher authority. Which is why girls like the school environment. They're submitting to some higher authority, and that's why boys have a hard time in school. Because the only authority men should submit to is God. The only authority that men should follow is a godly authority. And that's why boys have a hard time. Because we know that. We know that. Every cell in our body says that. But there's really no way that you can get these ideas across. Because look where the culture is. The culture is godless, do what you want, white guys suck, blah, blah, blah. And none of your peers are going to go against this because they don't want to seem like the outcast. They don't want to seem like, oh, they're dangerous. I'm dangerous for going against this. Because right or wrong, whether that notion is rational or irrational, that having an alternative opinion counter to the dominant narrative is dangerous, whether that's right or wrong, that's what they think. And people, if enough people have a perception, it eventually becomes merged into their realities. And this is no different whether you're in high school or whether you're way beyond that. Hell, there are people who don't talk to me anymore because I'm open with how I am. I don't accept common notions. And they view you with the same level of social radioactivity as they would like a child molester. Or some creep who goes around smelling girls' hair. They view you exactly like that. Which is just ridiculous. So that's what you're dealing with. Most people just want to go along to get along, whether it's right or wrong. And to make you feel better about this, I'm just as powerless as you. You're just having to confront it in a more direct way on a daily basis. And for that, I fully sympathize with you. Because it wasn't that long ago that I was in that situation myself. But you have to understand, there's nothing you can do about it. The only thing that you can do is be comfortable in the truth. Take comfort in knowing that you are right and they are wrong. The people are always wrong. The masses are always wrong. So, thank you for the email. And we will go if my email will load. And it did. I just clicked on the same one. How long have I been going? Oh, wow. Okay. This email is longer than I wanted, and I tried to trim it down. I hope you're well. I was worried when I didn't see your weekly podcast. I understand it's a commitment to do what you do every week, and you have done it incredibly consistently, but you were missed. Well, thank you. It may sound totally weird and not what you intend, but your willingness to call out the wickedness of these days almost seems like a ministry in the sense of catharsis and relief I get knowing someone out there sees what is going on. Recently, I've been thinking about religion. I've been a Christian my whole life. I completely and absolutely believe in God and my Lord Jesus Christ without question. However, I've been deeply bothered recently. While I have no doubts in my faith, I feel like I am losing my religion. I know it sounds strange. But while I have complete faith in the Lord and have no inclination to look in any other direction, I feel like I need a new religion. Still centered on God, Christ's salvation, and biblical truths, but not what we have now. Something seems wrong with what we have now. It seems that so many of the branches of Christianity have been corrupted. Recently, a lesbian bishop in Scandinavia suggested taking down the crosses from a church and putting in Muslim prayer rooms. And we just heard that Scandinavia is not that bad. The evidence is mounting. The Pope is pushing the destruction of Western peoples at the hands of endless hordes of invaders, and the countless churches that seem to preach a gospel that rejects all masculine virtues and wants to usher in hedonism and self-destruction. Christianity has done good by promoting moral introspection and mercy. But if we learn from history, it was Christ depicted as a warrior or righteousness that first converted the barbarian tribes of Europe. Not this passive anything-goes overly feminine idea we have now. I don't want insane fundamentalists using persecution as a tool of oppression, but I don't want this complete lack of will to fight for anything good and worth fighting for. The kingdom of heaven is established by forceful men, not degenerate lesbians, not amoral hippies, not even women, but by forceful men who will judge based on what is right and who will fight. A church that has cast out its men teaches them to be women is a church that has cast out the very ones who will establish the kingdom. I don't know if I will ever find my religion, but it isn't this disease that is taking over the world. I'm sorry this comes off as extreme, but something cries out within me. Well, that definitely fits into what I just said, that the only authority man should submit to is a godly one. The only man that the only thing that man should obey to is God. The only thing he should be obedient towards is God. And he should not be obedient towards the church if this is what the church is, because it really isn't the church. This is not what God had in mind. God did not have in mind wallow in your sin. God did not have in mind act as if you're doing nothing wrong. God did not have in mind, no, don't blame yourself for your shortcomings, blame society. We're supposed to be different from the world, not of it. And that's what you're struggling with. Because churches need to stay in the black. They need to post a prophet. They need to fill the pews. Oh, look, we're like what you hear and every other thing, but we mentioned God Jesus a couple times. We say what you hear in school, what you see on TV, what you hear on the radio, what you study in university. Oh, we agree with all of that, but we're going to mention God Jesus a couple times to make it seem like it's different. That might get you a week's worth of good tithe money, but you know what? That leaves you dead. God sees right through that shit. And you know what? I completely agree. I understand what you're talking about. But women are better consumers. And that's what the church is looking for. And the teachings, the teachings they pervert and the way they pervert it, it reflects that kind of value. It reflects the values of consumerism. So, nothing else to say. I know what you mean. PauseConvert.com. Kill me. From Dork Enlightenment. Check them out on Twitter and Facebook. I believe they have a Twitter and Facebook account. Yeah. PauseConvert.com is a thing that I found out searching through Tumblr. And if you're not familiar what pause is, well, that's a term. It's a shorthand term. It's a slang term for HIV positive, and it's used by homosexual men who want to give and receive HIV intentionally. They call it bug chasing, but I'm sure you know all about that now. I'm new to your channel and I really like it. I have a question if you don't mind answering it when you're able to. Recently I have, for lack of better words, refound my faith in God and Christ. I listened to one of your CFR podcasts where you gave some advice on religion and about Orthodox Christianity. My question is, do you think that a baptized Roman Catholic would be able to become Orthodox? I will look more into it, of course, but any further advice would be very appreciated. Keep up the great work and thank you very much. You're asking somebody who grew up in like these really basic bitch Protestant bullshit kind of churches. Ones that are that's what came before all this nonsense about lesbian bishops and LGBT affirming congregations. What I came from probably led into that. So that's why I'm not really a part of that world anymore, even though I still believe in God, obviously. But it's not like if you go to an Orthodox church on Sunday morning, it's not as if they're going to know that you're Roman Catholic. And the best way to find out if you are compatible with it is to just go. Go a few times. See how you like it. It's not like they're going to kick you out. It's not like they're going to ask you, oh, who are you? Why are you here? Just if you see people doing stuff, just follow along. Though I do think that you're not allowed to take communion if you're not allowed if you're in a Orthodox church. If you're not baptized, you're not allowed to take communion. If you're in an Orthodox church, they will send you away. So I think I heard that, and I think I'm remembering that right. But yeah, just go see how it works. First off, I'm a huge fan. I only heard of you last week, and I honestly had no idea there are other people with the same calm but moral mindset. I, for one, do get a bit tired of neo-Nazis and their hateful approach to today's downward spiral. Their heart's kind of in the right place when it comes to nationalism, but some of them just need an excuse to attack a certain group rather than society as a whole, but I digress. I apologize if you have already answered these questions. First question, you said you were a Protestant Christian before. I am too, so I just wanted to know your thought on the Pope. Specifically how he has started condoning degeneracy, gays, other religions, etc. What he allegedly wrote to a newspaper that people are doing sin when they ignore their conscience. Pope Francis assures atheists, you don't have to believe in God to go to heaven. Was that confirmed, or was that a hoax? Because I'm not sure of it. I've heard of it, but I did get fooled by something he said. Or maybe it's just millennial journalists taking this shit out of context. I don't know. But all I'm saying with the Pope is that where there's smoke, there's fire. Even if he didn't say exactly quite that, even if the context wasn't quite right, he still said something really dumb that allowed people to interpret his words in such a way. So yeah, I'm no fan of the Pope at all. I've said that. As each generation gets worse and people's morals begin to shift, hasn't our conscience become redundant? Because homosexuality has become accepted in our society, do gays really feel guilty about such acts? What the Pope said on this makes no sense at all and has really exposed how far the Catholic Church has gone, in my opinion. Also, the Vatican doing a 180 and saying they do not agree with the ideologies and stance that Kim Davis has used some bullshit excuse of why the Pope saw her really shows how quick people are to turn against what they literally preach. Coming from a religious and personal level, do you believe that we can improve the degrading status of society's morals, or will it just continually get worse and worse? I truly believe it can and will. Please don't make me sound like a doomsday conspiracy theorist. Oh, no, you're not. You see what's going on, and you're making a judgment based on what you see. And what you see, you're not lying to yourself. You read about it. You read about it every day, some new thing that happens that people say is okay. BuzzFeed, HIV is okay. Slate, pedophilia is okay. What else? Treating your pussy like a turnstile, that's okay, says Everyday Feminism. Says Jezebel, says whatever. People don't understand that there are consequences for the things they do. That what they do has a spiritual component, and they will be damaged on that level. But no, God's not real, spirits aren't real, whatever. I completely understand if you don't want to answer this question. Well, I mean, look, I don't have the answers. All I know is that the Catholic Church, as it stands, is something to be avoided. And there are many Catholics, many conservative Catholics out there, but look at your leadership. And that's what people look to. They don't look at the common Catholic, which, there's good ones, there are good ones, there are bad ones. But look who the Pope is. The Pope is of the world. The Pope is a degenerate. That's like, yeah, how can you trust anybody who's a geriatric virgin? How can you trust anybody who hasn't found it within themselves to take a wife? And that's why you see so much of this nonsense in the Catholic Church, is because of this celibacy bullshit. And I understand you don't want to perpetuate nepotism, whatever. The fact of the matter is, only perverts say, I'm celibate. Like what I talked about last week. All of these priests sodomizing young boys. They hide behind this celibacy to claim, oh, we're not doing anything. How could we do that? We're celibate. We're supposed to be celibate. Fuck that. You need people who take wives, who go forth and multiply. That's who you need as your leader. That's who you need in leadership. Somebody who can relate to women. Somebody that knows how to relate to women. Somebody who is socially adept enough to ensure himself a bloodline. That's what you need. But that doesn't have much to do with anything. How long have I been going here? 44 minutes or so. We'll call it there. Again, next week, Toilet Law, guest host. First time I've had a guest host on Common Filth Radio. So go to my subreddit, r/CommonFilth. Post in the question thread if you would like to hear Toilet Law answer your question. Check out Bandcamp. Everything on my Bandcamp page, half off. And where am I going? Well, I'm not going to tell you that. I don't want to be stalked, and I don't want to be stalked by my enemies. And from the stories I've heard, that's a distinct possibility, but I'll share more details with you next week. I will tell you all about my trip next week and where I went and all that good stuff. So until next time, please take care of yourselves. Please stay sane, and I'll talk to you later.